ice. You never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you need a wrong or right. You never know if you don't go.
Howdy, Rob.
Howdy, Matt. Welcome to Spooky Season.
It's Dungeon Master of None, and it's the Monster Mashup.
Just like with the career of Bobby Boris Pickett, or rather in contravention of that, it is our hope that this follow-up of Monster Mashup, which we did the first episode of last year at this time, is not eclipsed by the original, the way Bobby Boris Pickett's 1980 monster rap failed to exceed expectations of his original smash hit Monster Mash. So here's hoping that we don't suffer the same fate.
Yeah, we made some fun monsters last Bifrons, the sewer sharks, the blinkhead. I used the blinkhead.
The blinkhead was nasty, and I liked that one. It's also goofy as hell, and a perfect thing to throw in any wizard's tower or haunted mansion. I was very happy with that. All of them were good, but that one I was pretty happy with.
If you're new here, we roll up 2 different monsters from the monster manual, and then try and come up with a fun stat block of them together, a la the owl bear. But not really that, because, well, anyway, yes. You get what we're saying.
Yeah, something like that.
Cat dog. All right, Rob, do you want to do the honors of rolling our first table here?
We have a list of 40 total monsters in 2 columns, and they consist of your standards, ghouls, gnolls, marrows, nothics, that sort of thing. So here's our roll. Let's see what happens. So on column B, I rolled a 4, which gives us a bugbear.
A bugbear.
Solid goblinoid. All right. And on column B, I got a 1, which gives us an ankheg. Okay.
An ankheg.
Ankheg. All right.
An ankheg bugbear. All right. So let's talk through these monsters a little bit.
I'm already excited about this.
I love bugbears in their like Pathfinder version, where they're just kind of like serial killer monsters that creep around at night and strangle innocents. Yeah, so that's my favorite version of the bugbear.
Yeah, so what's the deal with bugbears?
What's the deal with airplane peanut?
They're goblinoids. They're like orcs, like goblins. They're of the family hobgoblins. What distinguishes them from their goblinoid brethren, Matt?
In D&D 5e, not much, right? Again, which is why I like the Pathfinder thing. They have a bonus to sneaking and attacking, so that's pretty much it. They can kind of surprise you, and their melee damage is higher than normal, right? So they can wield giant weapons.
Yeah, when I think of them in all their iterations, they're large, they're hairy, where other goblinoids are not, and they're stronger and they do more damage. Depending on the iteration of the bugbear, they may have a bonus to surprise attack. They may just have flat out more damage. They may reroll damage dice. So bugbears are a pretty threatening foe. I've always felt like their challenge rating is deceptive, because they do a lot of damage, and they can do a lot of damage to level 1 parties. So the bugbear, I like them in Pathfinder. They're in many iterations. They're sneaky. They do a lot of damage. They're strong. They're hairy. They're goblins. Okay, the bugbear.
And then our ankheg is kind of our, it's your giant ant lion, if that's what you call them in your part of the country. They're underground predator that also ambushes things, and is a big bug.
Big chitinous bug. They
right.
dig through the earth. They tunnel. Do they still? Yeah, they spit acid. And yeah, but they're just a big bug. They're a pretty tough,
all right,
straightforward, low level party foe.
Well, we're pretty close to calling this an ant bear as opposed to an owl bear. But our ant bear, the interesting thing about these 2 monsters is they align very, very closely on theme of ambush. So
right.
We should do something with that, but it's got to be a little bit different. We can't just have an ambushing hairy ant
Yeah.
Ankheg.
Well,
Are we saying
we wanna
ankheg or
call
ankheg?
I say it ankheg, but I don't know that there's. Hang on, wait. Let me listen to what D&D Beyond says it's pronounced like. They have the little button.
Ankheg.
Ankheg, says the fine British narrator. So they're ankegs. Okay, so we want to call this just ant goblin, bug keg, bugbear, ant bear.
You know, I do like the idea that if there are goblins, then will sort of naturally their predators will emerge, and their predator will be a kind of a goblin lion, but like an ant lion for goblins that will eat them. That fits in with the idea that goblinoids are spore-based creatures, a la the Warhammer 40K universe, where they just kind of grow their own ecology. I think we need to decide whether this is some kind of mindless, insect, this like vermin, or whether it's a an actual sentient species. Because bugbears reproduce like normally, and they're kind of basically scary people.
This is at least a mostly sentient creature, I think. I maybe we decide that this is not fully the type of creature that could have a society, but it is something that is intelligent and can make decisions. Yeah, I think this is more along the lines of a humanoid ankheg than a ankheg, sorry, than a ankheg like humanoid.
So sometimes when we're mashing these monsters up, we can do it just on stats, and combining the stats are kind of interesting. But I think the theme of these combined together is actually interesting. What do you say to this? The theme of the bugbear is they're serial killers. They go and like murder people in the night. They're really good at murder and ambush. And the theme of ankhegs is they're basically giant ant lions turned up to mythical proportions. What if there was a monster in our fantasy role-playing game that when murder happened, it was attracted from either the ethereal plane or below the ground, and instead of consuming just animal meat, it consumes like the site of a murder, right? That's what it feeds off of, the violence residue.
So are we thinking some kind of fae or aberration, perhaps? Something with a little bit of a magical beast, perhaps? Something more than just a monstrosity, right?
I like aberration because we've done fae pretty recently.
We did.
Do you remember in like what's that Tom Cruise movie based off the Philip K. Dick story, Minority Report? You remember
Yes,
in Minority Report, their explanation why the precogs can only sense murder? It's just because like murder is like different than all other crimes. It's like, only murder like triggers the precogs. So in fantasy role-playing games, we have psionics or magic, and murder tears the psionic veil and attracts these creatures, and they feed off the residue of murder. Sometimes they attack the murder site. Sometimes they attack the murderer. Maybe a clever serial killer uses them to dispose of the body, or they can be they can be in certain areas of the world. They can be a random encounter that you can add in when your players do violence. Everyone's like, oh yeah, don't kill people around here because the murder lion will show up and swallow the ground and try and eat you.
I like that. It's attracted to murder. It has some sort of psionic mystical connection to the actual act of murder, like the mark of Cain on a hideous aberration. And I like this too because this would be something that would appear in the in like Sybaris in Golarion, or like the World Wound, somewhere that's got that create or within the Mournlands, also in Eberron, somewhere where magical beasts or particularly demonic evil creatures are bound to emerge. Not something that you're likely to encounter in an ordinary field or village, but possibly one might make its way there.
Possibly
if attracted by a particularly delicious murder.
Yeah, or it could be, the players come across a town where everything is very peaceful, and they tell stories about, the murder bear, the murder bug, the murder bugbear. And maybe you find a place where no one will say the word kill or murder, and they're like, oh, it's a bugbear. I don't say that. It's a particular bugbear of ours.
Right.
And
It's
because when murder happens, this creature will show up.
I like that. It could lay dormant for decades at a time, waiting for a murder, and maybe a village has such a strong taboo, such a strong oral tradition of the last time or the last few times a murder has happened. The lurker beneath or something like that rises to attack. And so, this town lives under a veil of terror, but no murders.
Or it lives in a city where there's a lot of murders, or in a supernatural place like the World Wound or a plane of murder, Acheron, for example. Okay, I like this theme for it because it provides some plot hooks. You can use it as a random encounter after the players witness a murder or do a murder. They're my players. Or it can be something in the a random encounter table in a scary place. Or it can be a rumor that the players hear about and can try and come up with some clever ruse to attract it and get rid of it. And of course, maybe some people don't want this monster to be gotten rid of because it's a nice retribution for things. So I'm thinking, what about like for the design for what this looks and feels like? So if it's an aberration, we could go like lots of mouths and tentacles.
I'm imagining something like a drider. So it's got a humanoid chitinous bugbear body with with pincer claws instead of hands, but like a face and mandibles, which I suppose could talk if called upon. But then 6.
How about many faces? How about a face of every victim?
Wait, no, this is stealing. That's a thing. There's a Japanese demon that does that. We're bringing in too many ideas.
Oh, okay. All right. I've not heard that. Okay, so it's a drider that looks like a bugbear with an ant body and pincers.
Yes.
What about for abilities? I still think the surprise attack ability is pretty great for something that shows up and either kills anyone at the scene of a murder crime sometime later. I don't think it needs weapons. I think we can also steal from the ankheg the burrow speed, but I don't really see this living underground. I think an interesting thing about this monster is maybe it lives in like it could be the astral plane, it could be the ethereal plane, but like maybe even something like the far realm. It emerges from the far realm and like
I like that.
Burrows
this
through
feels
that
like
into reality.
A far realm creature. Yeah, I like that. And then it like in Shadow Step or Dimension Door or something like that emerge from another dimension.
How about this? It burrows from the far realm into the material plane, and when it does, like it opens up like a little portal, and then it opens up another portal when it leaves, and these tend to stay open for a few minutes. So if you need a plot hook for players to go to the far realm or something like that, this creature, the Ankh bear, is a way to do that. And instead of an acid spray, maybe a psionic damage spray.
Yes,
I
like
for
that.
something like an aberration.
Yeah, it's roughly the same function as the acid spray, but yes, it's psionic damage. It's like a shriek or something. And I like the idea of like astral burrowing. It tunnels between like quantum tunneling, but from the far realm. So astral tunneling. Yeah. And
Okay,
that could be
and
we
then-
could give it a misty step or shadow step like ability where it tunnels between the planes to get from one place to another. Maybe not something I use very often, but something so that it can move between from one place to another without being seen or escape or ambush. Obviously, people.
You can, I would say, like Misty Step, but you can follow it but you would have to go through
You
the
have
far
to step
realm.
through
which
the
is,
far realm, and that's a
not a-
risky thing.
Not a pleasant thing. I'm feeling like this is maybe so. Bugbears are they're droogs, they're mooks, they're toughs, they're CR1. Ankheg is also not a very high CR. I feel like we should go up a little bit in CR for something that is so scary.
I think this is at least a 4 or a 5 from what we're discussing. Definitely the combination of the two is scarier than either of them by themselves.
So I'm gonna go off of the I'm looking for a creature around 4 or 5 that looks your matches your description. A Chul hit points and armor class, speed, and probably some of its stat lines with these other abilities we described. And then we could give it a trait that's like sense murder, and we'll add some text that this is designed to an area. It will either devour the murderer or the victim when it arrives.
I like that. I think that's great. I think this has a lot of potential.
The only thing that it needs for a CR4 or 5 creature, Rob, is that you can't. Here's a little tip on how 5e works: is you can't go from 1 or 2 to 4 or 5 without giving something multi-attack. Never really says this in the monster manual or DMG, but it's going to need to have multi-attack with each of its terrible pincers and or claws. So it can get at least 2 attacks off a round.
Yeah.
Plus,
and it should.
Plus it's got its little spray.
Yeah, it should have 2 pincer attacks and pincer attack or the psionic blast or psionic, shriek or whatever. Yeah, that makes sense.
Bugbear, cause of fear, irritation, or loathing. Invoked to frighten children. I think this would actually frighten children, unlike how bugbears are presented in normal D&D. Do we have a name for this? Do we want to call it the murder lion, Ankh bear?
I think let's give it 2 names. The sort of like common name, the thing that ordinary folk of the regular prime materials, they call it an Ankh bear, just because it's a looks like a bugbear crossed with an ankheg, but it's not really that. That's just like sort of what they came to call it. And then since it's maybe a far realm creature, we can call it its true name, or its other name is something like the Murder Walker or something like that.
Murder Walker is pretty good.
Murder Walker, yeah.
Though if you try and murder Walker Texas Ranger, you're gonna have another thing coming.
That's right.
Be tossed into a big stack of cardboard boxes.
Put a pin in that. I might come up with something better, but Murder Walker, Ankh bear, I like that.
Yeah, all right. We have a CR4 multi-attacking, burrowing through reality thing that
ambush monster with psionic abilities. Pretty cool. I like it.
Either unintentionally punishes the wicked or cleans up their crime scene for them.
Unclear. Its motivations are beyond our ken.
Yeah. Now that we note that it can eat the victim, I think we should have something on its like person or something that, let's say players find a murder scene, but then the body is gone and they discover it was taken by a murder walker, an Ankh bear. They should be able to track down said murder walker or Ankh bear and find some evidence. So I'm just going to add some text that it keeps like it's a far realm creature, like it digests into gems or weird organs that grow on its back, the souls or the psychic resonance of the people it killed. And if you possess these, you can relive some clues about their life.
I like that. I think that's good. Helps them solve the mystery.
Okay, Rob, we've done it again. We've mashed up 2 perfectly good monsters into something weirder.
Another successful monster mashup. All right, Matt, give us some rolls.
All right, Rob, I'm gonna roll on a D1000 table this time.
Okay.
All of the monsters from 5e that I've put together. So here we go. 818. And that's going to give us a swarm of rats.
All right, I like where we're headed. Okay.
And let me roll one more time on that D1000 table. 639, a neolithid, a neothelid,
A neothelid?
a neothelid.
Neothelid.
I don't know where to put the syllables. We all know what those are, so those are the big giant
let me listen
worms
to the narrator once again.
Neothelid.
Okay.
Neothelid, he says.
Neothelid. Those are, of course, the big giant worms that emerge sometimes from the spawning pools of elder brains when certain conditions arise that I don't really know what they are.
Here's
we've
what
got
it
a
says
swarm of rats
in
and
the
a
book.
big giant worm.
Result of the Mind Flayer reproductive cycle gone horribly wrong. When an illithid colony collapses, typically after an external assault, and the elder brain is killed, the colony's tadpoles are suddenly freed from their fate. They no longer serve as food and are no longer fed by their caretakers. Driven by hunger, they turn to devouring one another. Only one tadpole survives out of the thousands in the colony's pool, and it emerges as a neothelid. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Rob, do you know what a swarm of rats are? They're a bunch of rats together.
that's right. So, I think we have. I think we know what's going to happen here, don't we? I think there's only one real reasonable outcome.
Is a swarm of neothelids.
A neothelid swarm. But
Okay, so
with a
Rob,
twist,
a neothelid
with a twist,
is
though.
already gargantuan. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yes,
So this would make
yes.
it double gargantuan.
Yes. What comes after gargantuan? Is there a bigger size than gargantuan?
In the rules, nothing. So they are incredibly large. But this does make me think of a creature that would be great for this, right? Which is, just something like a dune worm, a purple worm, right? Everyone is familiar with the werewolves of the Last Desert in fantasy role-playing games, things like the neothelids. I'm just imagining a swarm of these, like spawning snakes or rats, would be a really, really interesting encounter.
Yeah, like the God, what are they called in God Emperor of Dune? The baby worms. That he presses
The fish.
The fish.
The fish
yes.
worm, the sand trout.
Sand trout. Thank you. It was it's a type of fish. I couldn't remember. Sand trout. Yes. So I like where your head's at. So let's stick with the illithid connection, but we'll do a little twist on it. It's their malfunctioning, malformed illithid spawn tadpoles, but they, through some magic, have grown to, hand forearm sized, and have now sort of come together in a levitating swarm of horrible tentacled mind creatures, right? Not as smart as a mind flayer, and not as focused as a intellect devourer. Just a swarm of hungry, levitating, psionic creatures that will just latch on to and devour anything in their path.
I have a great explanation for the magical mishap.
Okay.
Right? And it was what I was talking about earlier, right? What is one of the other great denizens of the Underdark that just kind of eats everything in its path? It is what I mentioned before, the purple worm. Could you imagine a purple worm accidentally burrowing up and swallowing a spawning pool of the neolithids?
I love that. Purple worms are also renowned for their toxin. So it could be like a reaction to the purple worm toxin creates this infestation of swarming neothelids, and then they burrow out of the purple worm, they kill it from within, or it belches them up or something like that. But an interaction between a purple worm and a bunch of baby mind flayers produces this hideous neothelid swarm.
So, if your players come across a great way to foreshadow this monster is your players come across a dead purple worm, and its belly is split open, and eventually they will encounter a flying gargantuan worm or swarm of thousands of half snake, half kind of rat tadpole creatures that can fly, maybe have toxic or psionic powers again. All right, we made another aberration. Cool. What? So the a swarm of rats like just wants to eat. And a neothlid just wants to destroy. What is the guiding animus of this swarm? I feel like we should make it different and unique, other than because most swarms in the D&D book are just like it's a thing that wants to eat you that was scared out of its hiding location. I think we can make something more clever than that.
We can go do anything we want with it because we're, it's been twisted by the purple worm, but it could be that it it only wants to eat smart things, so it pursues the party member with the highest intelligence or something like that, or it only goes after creatures with intelligence. So beasts can wander around a neothlid swarm and nothing bad will happen to them, but anytime a sentient creature comes within sort of its like hunting territory, they'll immediately be set upon by all of these medium-sized gnawing rat tentacle creatures.
I like the idea that it's attracted to intelligence or even places of great learning, a library, a university, a mage college. So it will head there. I also was thinking like this reminds me of some kind of like was the one swarm you can actually encounter in the wild. It's a swarm of bees, and they're often swarming because they're looking to establish a new colony. And so when flying around,
perfect, Matt. This is great. They go after places of learning, like you said, and then they nest there. They create horrible, webs of goo and slime and ichor, and start just feeding the swarm, making the swarm bigger and more powerful and more advanced. And they'll go wherever, to universities, to libraries, to cities if they're particularly well educated, and they will just scour them of any intelligent creature and then use their bodies as hosts for more mini neothlids. That's awesome. That's a ton of like flavor and hooks. Could be anything from like a side quest to like a full on end game boss. I like that.
Yeah. I would say we need 2 stat blocks here. One is just for if you encounter one of these independently because they're kind of unique. And for that, I would just take I'm going to say we just take the snake stat block, add the fact that it is flying and some immunities to psychic stuff and kind of a poisonous psychic sting. But for the actual swarm, right? Let's say you do disturb these and they go looking for a new nest, or you encounter them in your nest. I think we should stick to our neothlid purple worm origins, and that the swarm itself is gargantuan, right? This is a huge challenge. And when it is swarming together, it has some other powers. So let's hit some of those other powers.
Yeah, this is great. I like that we're coming up with a gargantuan swarm, something that's totally outside the box. So the neothlid has magic resistance. It's got tentacles. It has an acid breath. It has a little bit of spellcasting. So I sort of like the idea that I'm coming up with this idea that the neothlids, so like the illithids are a hive mind, right? They're all sort of like linked to the elder brain. So what if the neothlid swarm is like a nascent, incomplete hive mind? They don't have but when they're together, they have some like psionic abilities. They're able to do, they're able to affect the area around them in a way that's with psionic powers. Could be spell like, could be confusion or hypnotic pattern.
Confusion is really interesting. Instead of the swarm, when it invades a city searching for intelligence, when these things bite on and, maybe consume some flesh or at least attack a victim, they're not that dangerous. Again, this is like a messed up reproduction. They just confuse the target, permanently, like a curse. So the players can find a city or a university or a mage school where everyone is confused, right?
Everyone is confused or feeble-minded, and they're all wandering around in a haze of some kind. Oh, I like that. And then they have to go and find the horrible nest of neothelids that's causing the city or the library or the university to behave like this. Oh, that's good. I like that.
How about just a fun way to a fun way to I'm trying to think of a way to make the fight interesting. The neothelid has the detect thoughts ability, and what if this swarm basically it doesn't have as many hit points as a neothelid, but unless your mind is shielded or unless you take the opportunity to try and confuse your thoughts, it can be very hard to attack. The swarm, like a school of fish dodges out of the way because it can sense your attack coming. So let's give it a power like schooling reaction, right? As long as your thoughts can be detected, or unless you
we could make it as bad as it has. You have disadvantage on attacks and it has advantage on saving throws unless you have like mind blank or non-detection. That would be
right.
That'd be really hard, but that would be very rewarding if the players figured that out. I think that would be. I think let's do that. Let's make this a real challenge.
A real challenge to fight. Plus, it's got swarm immunities, which give it a resistance to other things. Actually, how about if you do have mind blank or non-detection, or if you come up with a clever way for it to not read your thoughts, you ignore the swarm immunities.
Ooh, I like that.
It's resistance to damaging, piercing, and bludgeoning. And then I think we should make this obvious, like it starts reacting. We'll put something in the flavor text, right? It starts reacting even before you act because it's reading your thoughts.
Yeah, because it knows what you're doing. Mm-hmm.
I would say if you in any way link your thoughts with another person, Rary's telepathic bond is still a spell, or just telepathic bond, right? That's enough to confuse
sending
it.
or message maybe could be something.
True Strike gives you the divination authority to overcome its problems, and a True Strike spell will dispel it for 1 round. Something like, is that a cantrip still? So that would be an instant win. No one prepares True Strike because it doesn't work at all. So maybe True Strike.
It remains a terrible spell, but yeah, it would be too powerful if you could do more. You could have True Strike negate all of its advantages, though.
Right. I would just say add some text in here on its kind of schooling precog reaction. Is that if players even a lead helmet or an iron helm is often enough to cool. So really give them the advantage. Even doing something
give your
like
players tinfoil helmets, like let them make protect their brains from.
Even a player saying, I'm going to, roll on a chart and do something random. That is enough to
that
ignore
would be great. Yes.
Yeah.
Encourage them to think outside the box with a creature that can literally read their minds. Not very sophisticated, but they know what's going to happen. Yeah. I like that a
This
lot.
thing doesn't have any more intelligence than, let's say, a Neolithid, which is, intelligence of 9. So it's not very smart. Its awareness is not good. And then for the actual stats, I would say if we use purple worm stats for the swarm, as in armor class and hit points, with again the levitating, so it's flying psychic snakes, plus swarm resistances, that's already making it a challenge. 16 or 7, it's at the 15 and up level.
Yeah, that's pretty high. But again, this is something we're talking about as a high level, or even the could be the end encounter for an entire arc.
Right. And let's say, I would say for our stats with this one, if you want to take it down a notch or two, really dumping the hit points of this thing is pretty much what you would need to do.
You could make a swarm of neothelids like lesser or minor, just a much smaller group of them if you wanted, just by reducing the hit points, and make this a bit more of a manageable encounter. Though I kind of like it as a big fucking deal.
I think the other thing I'm going to add is instead of multi-attack, a swarming sting. So it's essentially an AoE attack, right, in a line. I imagine it's swooping down, so like a 30-foot line. It attacks every time, so it rewards players that are, all right, I get the pattern of this attack.
Yeah.
And for the lore, I can imagine that actually one of the great enemies of something like a swarm of flying psychic snakes is actually the mind flayers, the illithids themselves, because it's up there, it's ruining their dinners, it's causing confusion, it's making people aware of the illithids.
Oh yeah, they hate this.
They're in fact the ones who will gladly provide you with a ring of mind shielding if you're willing to get rid of it, because this is doing nothing but cause problems for them. Yeah,
the illithids would hate this, so they would conditionally help you out. This would also be a great thing for like a neutral astral predator of some kind to feed on, some kind of beast without much intelligence that would happily just this is neither here nor there, but an astral whale could feed on, swarms of like neothelid swarms, just, a
psychic whale. Yeah.
Yeah. Just,
I actually say these, Rob, instead of when they nest, right, and they find a great place of great learning, they build their nest, they swarm, they're like those snakes that mate in giant pits up in Manitoba that I found out about on the side of a U-Haul. Eventually, they will bore a hole through reality into the astral plane. So these can also be encountered, schooling through the astral plane. Which, you don't find much mind flayer in astral plane interactions. So that's something nice here. Because, of course, the Githyanki are there. But, all right. Yeah, the Githyanki will also help the players hunt this if they can make contact with them. Okay, so it's got swarm powers, it's got a lot of hit points, it's got a lot of resistances, and your attacks have disadvantage, or it has advantage on saving throws, unless you can prevent it from detecting your thoughts. It attacks in a big 30-foot line and can be found in places of learning and on the astral plane. Do we want to come up with a name like Neothelid for the swarm, or do we want to call it a swarm of neothelids? What's a good name for this?
I've been thinking of it as a neothelid swarm, but they're not really neothelids, so we could call them something else. Let's see.
A minothelid.
Minothelid, yeah.
Minithelids? That's pretty good for me. Minithelid. Swarm
Minithelid,
of
I can work with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just gonna play with the made-up
swarm
etymology of illithids. Yeah, minithelids, I like it.
All right. Okay, so a swarm of flying evil snakes.
All right, I am going to roll. Once again, there are 1,000 creatures on this list. Here we go. 563. Can't search. That would be too easy. Oh, right, because it's... I know how Excel works. The lion.
Ah, the famed lion. I've heard of these from such tales as Hercules.
Mythic beasts that Herodotus brought us tales of from his journeys. All right,
so maybe not the most exciting monster, but let's see what we get.
Let's see what the second one is. The second
roll.
number is 442, which gives us a gladiator. Okay, hang on. Do we want to roll with that or roll again? That doesn't really.
Okay, a lion gladiator. It's again Hercules.
It's
a gladiator.
It's She-Ra and the Warriors of the Universe. Okay.
I mean, those are two things that go together. It is lions fight gladiators. They fight Christians. They fight
it's two
prisoners and the things.
It's just Thundercats.
It's just Thundercats.
It's just Thundercats. Okay, hang on. Okay, I'm gonna do it one more time.
Okay,
it's not my fault. I'm not doing anything wrong here.
I got an idea with the lion gladiator. What if a wizard turned a lion into the ultimate opponent for a gladiator, like the ultimate combat thing?
Okay, all right. Let's go to the ultimate. Okay, all right. I'm wheels are turning. Lion plus gladiator. This is the perfect, perfectly designed creature to win in gladiatorial combat. Okay.
Help me out here. You know, you're such a fucking nerd. You know all the types of gladiators and stuff.
Sure.
What if there's a monster that is
like guy and go ahead.
On the base of a lion that has all the different it has all the powers of all the different gladiators.
Okay. Oh, I like this already. So I think this should be a construct. So let's make this if we're leaning into a wizard did this. So some type of animated armor or just a golem of some kind, but a construct created by the wizard with the express purpose of fighting in gladiatorial games.
So what are the types
of a lion?
For me, who doesn't know the types of gladiators, what are some of the biggest ones? I need some
a lot of them are
here.
stupid, and we can ignore them.
Oh, well, the stupid ones sound great for D&D. Give me a stupid one.
Actually, that's true. So the dumbest one, in my opinion, is the Retiarus, the net fighter. He has a trident and a net, like a fisherman. This is a real, somebody was like, I got a great idea for a theme. What if you had a fisherman gladiator? Anyway, he gets a weighted net and a trident. This is great for I think this should be a bipedal golem construct, right?
Right, it has 8 arms, and each one is a different gladiator thing. It has a tail like a lion and a lion's face, or a big metal mask that looks like a lion.
Yes.
And here's the selling point, Game Masters, is the players are in a gladiatorial arena or something as escape from. It's like, oh yeah, you have to fight the lion.
The lion,
actually,
yes.
The lion, and they're 7th level. They're like, oh yeah, we can kill a lion. I'll shoot it with scorching ray, and it will be dead before it even comes out. Actually, it comes out. It's a big stomping construct. Maybe it's made of flesh. Maybe it's made of metal. Maybe a combination of the two. And it's got 10 arms and 4 legs and a lion's head, and all of its arms end in gladiator weapons.
Awesome.
They're like, oh shit, we can't fight the lion.
We can't fight the lion. You don't want to fight the lion. So
Retarius, trident and net.
Trident and net in 2 arms, 2 hands. There's a couple of classic ones that have 2 swords, basically. So sort of like the middle torso section is just two arms with just big swords in them. And
what is, in your opinion, the second dumbest type of gladiator? I liked your first dumbest one. So,
there's a couple that people don't even know if they actually existed.
Right, they were in a mural or something like that,
yeah.
Or
let's see. I mean, there was a guy. This is not very interesting. one
Are
of them
there
was
any with guns?
No, but we shouldn't let that stop us.
Are there any with bows or a
yes,
ranged
there is.
weapon?
There's the classic. What's it called? The Sagittarius.
Okay.
Right. The archer. So I think a bow would be pretty solid. And let's see, the Thrakes is kind of dumb. Again, these were based off of the Thracians. They had a curved sword and a big shield, but seemed kind of impractical to me. And then the Velas, again, that might not have been real. Really, we can do anything we want with this.
Okay, what's your favorite?
I like the guy with two
classes of
swords.
gladiator?
I like the
Okay.
2-sword guy.
And what is that guy called?
Oh god, there were a couple. The Dimacharius. Dimacharius.
Okay.
So let's do that. That's good. There's the net and the trident. There's the bow, and the 2 swords. It's got a it's got a long range and a mid range and a short range engagement mode.
Right. Okay. So it has there's a gladiator called a bestiaris.
There's the beast fighter.
Okay. Well, I think that would make, we could call this the lion, but we could also just call it the bestiaris, and that is a gladiator and it is a beast.
Bestiaris Maximus, perhaps?
Bestiaris Maximus. All right. So for the stat block of this, so we've got a bow. It's got 2 swords. I think it should have a bow, 2 swords, a shield, and is there what goes with the shield? A spear, and then a trident,
a shield,
and net.
Sword, anything you want. Yeah, shield and spear. Yeah, let's get 8 arms. Shield and spear.
Shield and spear.
2 swords, bow, and then the net and trident.
Net and trident. Okay. That's I think 10 arms, but that's okay.
Oh yeah, you're right.
10 arms is fine.
Sure, why not? You can have 10 arms.
Yeah.
No one ever said it can't have 10 arms.
No, 10 arms is not much. I think if it can either have 2 legs or 4 legs. Do we decide where we want on this?
Let's give it 2 legs. Let's this is I think 2 legs is plenty.
And then I think it should look like, I think we could go construct, right, Rob? And I like that. But I do like the idea of a 10-armed bipedal giant, ogre-sized lion that people make armor for, right? And like it's a magical beast that's bred for the arena, and they make armor for it. And it's got
I like that better. Let's do that. Let's call it. I mean,
yeah.
the only thing I would say, Matt, is that would be another aberration. No, would it be?
No, it would be a magical beast.
You're right. It'd be a magical beast. Never mind. Then we're good.
Which is not actually a thing anymore. It's I think just called beast.
But yeah, it would be a beast.
It would be a beast. Like an owlbear, like a wizard or a cleric of the games has created this.
Yeah.
Or even if you're playing a Greek myth game, the gods created this monster specifically for heroes to fight in the arena.
Yeah, a creature with the face of a lion, and 6 arms to wield weapons with, and people have made armor and arms for it. And it's huge, at least, and designed to be fought by the finest gladiator teams in glorious Mortal Kombat.
Right. And so for its stat block, I think it should definitely have the gladiator reaction parry, which just means it can add some AC to its first attack. I think we should keep with it the shield bash. But instead of knocking prone, I like the idea of this throwing people across the arena. So it's a strength check or you get knocked back. The swords are just regular damage. The trident is, ranged. A reach regular damage.
Reach, yep.
And then it can it usually carries several nets, right? So on its turn, it can either shoot a bow or throw its net. And so this is just a whirling murder machine. Do we want to add anything else from the lion stat block to kind of really keep it, make it a real engaging monster?
I think we should give it a bite. And it's already got multi-attack. and a bite, and maybe the bite comes with a little extra oomph, like a rider of some kind.
How about I like the bite, right? And the bite has a rider, like you could be knocked down, but let's give it also a movement power, right?
Ooh, even
as a
better.
bonus action with a recharge 4 through 6, it can do a long jump 25 feet, like the lion's running leap. So it can kind of move around the arena. So, it's often pinning people down, shooting them, and then engaging another opponent one-on-one with a flurry of blades.
Gives it mobility to make up for being a big hulking lion fighter. Yeah, I like that a lot.
And then I imagine do we want to give it a weakness of some kind to make up for its immense strength?
I mean, to get kind of meta, I would say that its weakness is low. It's like all brute creatures, low mental scores. So it's something that could be relatively easily charmed or confused or something like that. But I don't know. I don't know if you want to give it something more compelling than that, something that would be easier to take advantage of.
Yeah, let's add something like, it's a brute. That's actually a tag from the gladiator stat line. But we'll for our brute, we'll say what it means is that how about this? Honorable brute. The gladiator lion only attacks those who pose a threat. It will not attack downed opponents until anyone standing is finished.
And it has to accept a challenge. If any warrior wants to fight it, one-on-one, it can't turn that down. So if your party is losing and one of your brave, fighters or marshals wants to potentially get murdered, but take all the hits, they can do that. They can challenge it to single combat, and the lion, the bestiarius maximus cannot refuse a one-on-one honorable combat.
So this thing has a lot of attacks. It has mobility. It has defensive abilities. I think we need to take it down in one category, and feel free to veto this, but I'm going to say let's get rid of its bow attack. So its only ranged attacks are the net. So the players need
that
to
also gives it
get
a
away
reasonable number of arms. That means that it's just got
back to 8 arms.
To 8 arms, yeah.
Right. So it's a Retarius, a Sagittarius, and whatever you said the name of the double.
Not the Sagittarius.
Wielding.
We're taking away its.
Oh, right. A Retarius, a
Retarius.
Karis.
Mormilo, sword and shield. 2 swords, sword and shield. I'm sorry, spear and shield, trident and net. That's good. That's plenty.
Right. So I've got the arms that it has: trident, net, spear, shield, sword.
Yes. Perfect.
It has up to, let's say, 3 nets. They are weighted. We will use a form of the net attack. I think there's not one on the gladiator thing, but we will break out those net rules. And we may need to call it a weighted net or something to up the ante, because sometimes in some versions of the D&D rules, nets are good, and in some versions they're completely useless. So let's see. And then running through all the other abilities, we gave it Honorable Brute, the stuff about its behavior and not fighting downed enemies, accepting challenges. It has the pouncing leap that, as a bonus action on a recharge, gives it some extra mobility. And it also has parry as a reaction. And I think it should have. Where do we want to set the CR for this?
Well, I was using, just sort of like as a shorthand for my own benefit, the giant ape chassis. CR 7, certain number of hit points. probably that would crank it up. Giving it all the things that we did would crank it up at least.
Right. Make sure it's got its AC up because it does have a shield and it does have parry. And then the giant ape is good for I think the stat line. And then but multi attack, I'm gonna say it makes 3 melee attacks.
3.
Okay.
2 melee attacks and a bite, or 3 melee attacks.
Okay. 3 melee attacks or 2 and a shield bash is what I have. Shield bash was the one I missed. Okay. All right. The Bestiaris Maximus, the lion. Well, I thought that was going to be not very interesting, but I can...
No, that was a good idea, Matt.
Picture in my head a 6-armed lion with all these weapons, and then I imagine they give it armor like the big dumb guy that Russell Crowe fights, where it's got like the face mask, but it looks like a cool lion.
I love that.
Kind
Beautiful.
of Art Deco armor.
Yes.
How'd they get Art Deco armor into Rome? Who knows? It was crazy.
Who knows?
Well, what a great movie, Rob. What a great episode. We've got the Murder Walker. We've got our swarm of mini lithids. And we've got our Bestiarius Maximus. And if you like these and want the actual stat blocks, we'll be posting them on our Patreon page. There's another Latin word for you.
Patreon. Fine Latin word. You can also find the original monster mashup and additional monster stat blocks for those monsters. So check it out.
At patreon.com/Dungeon Master of None. Link in the show notes.
Thank you all for listening, everybody. And whatever you do, keep rolling them dice.
Shock the body, shock.